Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. Why the hell have you guys not passed Medicare for all in the States? The stories I hear, not just from the pandemic, but from before the pandemic, of people crying as they have to put away groceries so they can afford their absurdly overpriced insulin. People rationing their insulin and in some cases dying before their weddings or their birthdays or something like that because they couldn't afford it. People instead becoming addicted to cheap painkillers and things like fentanyl because their actual prescription pain meds are too expensive. People having to remortgage or sell their houses and risk becoming homeless because of necessary surgeries. People having to go on GoFundMe to raise money to save their kids or their parents or their wives or their husbands or whoever. It's disgusting. What is going on with you people down there? To get very personal, and part of why this infuriates me, I have American family. And seeing how some of them get worried if, oh, well, what if something happens and the insurance doesn't cover it? Meanwhile, here in Canada, my mother has had, in the past 4 years, 4 different surgeries, 2 of which were a brain surgery on a benign tumor. And yet, the only concerns we had was, oh, well, is it malignant, and does this mean we're going to have treatment? And in my case, oh, geez, can I get back to Canada fast enough to be there for a few days before going into surgery and hopefully a few days after before having to go back overseas to my job? Not once did we have to think, oh, geez, how are we going to pay for this? Do we need to sell the home or go on GoFundMe? The biggest concern and complaint from either of us was the hospital bill, which was just over $1,000 because she upgraded to a semi-private room, and I had to keep shelling out money for parking passes to come and visit her, both before surgery, like before she went in, and immediately afterwards. Oh, and of course, because prescription medications are not covered, but they have a sort of baseline price set by the national healthcare system. You know, that was the extent of her problems and complaints and my problems and complaints. A fistful of dollars over the course of 2 terrible, brain surgeries and recovery periods, and then 2 other surgeries, but those didn't cost any kind of extra money for different reasons. So when I hear that someone in America has an allergic reaction to something and then still has to pay thousands of dollars out of their own pocket when I got into an emergency ward for free when I had an allergic reaction before finding out I'm allergic to something, it absolutely boggles the mind. And then we get to the actual terrible part, which is the pandemic right now. Like this one man, I think in New York, who survived being intubated for like months pretty much, and he had $1 million hospital bill. How is he supposed to pay that? It doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is why it hasn't been passed yet. Because the Democrats, despite being the good party, the left party, still won't commit to passing Medicare for all during the height of a terrible pandemic that has gripped the world in chaos. They still won't pass it because a lot of their big money donors come from big pharma. And even though a majority of not just their base, but a majority of Americans want to see the passage of Medicare for all, they won't do it because of that. And I would love if more Americans could wake up and realize that there is no left-wing party in America, that the Democrats are simply the good cop to the Republicans' bad cop, that the Democrats are simply the other side of the neoliberal order coin that governs America with a ruthless and greedy capitalist fist. It is in your best interests to do this, to pass Medicare for all, and to make the Democrats truly scared. Because otherwise, nothing is going to change. If the Democrats can't pass Medicare for all during a pandemic, what makes you think it's going to happen under a Joe Biden administration? Demand better of your politicians. You know where they work, you know where they live. But the fact that so many of you aren't acting on this and simply demanding that the forces at work that your tax dollars pay for, the fact that you are not already tarring and feathering these greedy bastards is what's bothering me today.